Picture it. Twitter, April 26, 2025. A VTuber artist known as Nanolis drops a Google Doc on how she will no longer be working with a VTuber known as Sinder. After claiming to have been emotionally manipulated by Sinder's manager into no longer making VTuber models for other creators such as Iron Mouse, Bao, and the dreaded Silverveil. This seems to be just a "hey, this is why I'm no longer working with this person" tweet, and something that could have been swept under the rug, right? Wrong. Instead, the VTuber world learns the hard truth about someone they thought was their friend turned enemy. Today, we are going to condense down Sinder's returning 1,000-page Google document in response to this tweet that makes both her and her manager look like a pile of hot garbage. So let's get into it. This is one DM from Red to Nanolis to kind of paint the picture of what Nanolis was dealing with. Red would basically guilt trip Nanolis into thinking that others were getting special treatment over Sinder. All the pressure caused Nanolis to ask Red if they should go exclusive, meaning Nanolis would only work with Sinder and if they would pay her to cancel the commissions she had already started. Red said they wouldn't refund her for any cancellations, but assured her that they had plenty of work to be done to supplement the loss of income. Keep in mind, at this point, Iron Mouse had 2 models that were in the works by Nanolis, along with Bao, who had already been canceled on because of Red's manipulation and guilt tripping to Nanolis, and a few others who were on the wait list. This was a deal Nanolis obviously didn't take after talking to her friends, and they told her that this was not a good business relationship and that Red and Sinder were manipulators, which caused Nano to self-reflect and post that tweet outing the messages. This, in of itself, was something that probably could have been dealt with privately and could have been seen as not as a big deal to the VTuber community. However, it was what came after this that made Sinder spiral into writing her document. The same day that Nano posted her tweet, other VTubers who had been friends with Sinder also started to post on Twitter as well. In her document, we see where Bao had commissioned a model for a subathon, and how devastated she was to have Nano cancel her model, since she had already shared a few sneak peek images to her group of friends, which contained Sinder. All of her friends sympathized with Bao, all except for Sinder. This is when we can see how manipulative Red can be, as Bao addresses in her own document things that Nanolis had showed in her messages with Red. Red claimed that Bao had hijacked their YouTube editor, when the truth was that Sinder used one of Bao's editors for a music video. She loved it so much that she wanted to continue to work with this editor, who denied this partnership and said that they would only be working with Bao from now on so they could work on their own projects and still work with the person who believed in them from the start. This is when Sinder claims to have not known about anything Red was up to regarding any of these messages. Her lack of accountability with not keeping up with her own brand would make her look even worse. Then to take the cake, her manager is also her husband, which was not known at this time. Sinder denies the claims that she was in on this and never wanted to hurt Bao or anyone. She did admit that she was insecure and allowed Red to influence how she treated her friends, however.
Listen to me. No matter what they ask you, no matter how hard they push, deny, even if they figure it out.
I also wanted to address her strange connections throughout her Google Doc of how many times Silverveil came up. I think above all else that this was a document of Sinder trying her best to tell people that she and Silverveil weren't the same person, but always got compared to each other, and how Silverveil would come up with merchandise around the same time as Sinder, and how it would overshadow Sinder's merchandise drops. But Sinder didn't really have a whole lot of evidence to back this up in her document. Silver goes on to write about her own experiences with Sinder and how uncomfortable she made her feel throughout their time knowing one another. I will now read some of this document. From the few uncomfortable interactions I did have with her, I had gotten the vibe that her primary goal was to climb the social and content ladder and grow her brand. I am fully aware how common that attitude is, and that is just how you grow in this sphere. But I personally don't have the emotional fortitude or bandwidth to have friendships for the express purpose of growth. For the record, I think it's fine to have that view and approach to content creation, but I also reserve the right to simply not vibe with someone. I would much rather not associate with someone at all than pretend to be their friend for the purpose of growing my brand. Silvervale also addressed the message between Nano and Red, in which Red wanted Nano to deny Silver artwork. Silver had no idea that Sinder was the reason that her artwork was being denied or pushed back. I have also gone through a haul of Silver's documents, and honestly, I have to say that Sinder seems almost stalker level obsessed with Silvervale and being her better version. Sinder's document really feels more like a slander, writing of how her friends betrayed her and didn't get her side of the story, and that she really hated Silvervale. And to be honest, there are a lot more messages and details I can add to this video because there are different perspectives and sides, but if I did that, it would be several hours long, and I've been sucked into this drama enough to want to make my own personal video about it. And I feel like a lot of people have covered this already, especially Mugen. So if you want a true deep dive, I highly recommend his videos. So yeah, with all this, I think I've given a good condensed idea of what happened. Now for my take on the situation. So to me, all this makes it very unlikely that Sinder didn't know about anything that Red was up to. Often than not, these types of people like Sinder are the ones who come up with this sort of scheme to begin with. Sinder became so insecure about seeing her friends rising up with her that she saw them as competition, even though she herself was just as successful as they were. Also, having been around these sorts of people in my life myself, it wouldn't surprise me if she enlisted Red to say these things for her in the first place. So if it ever did explode, it wouldn't fall back on her, and she could deny everything in hopes that her friends would stick around. Red probably willingly agreed to it in this situation, hypothetically. Now, I'm not saying everything he said could have been Sinder telling him what to say. I do think power got to Red's head, but these people are a team in marriage, as we discussed earlier. Personally, in my marriage, there's not anything I don't tell my husband. Of course, this is all my opinion and not something factual, so please don't come for me. Sinder is definitely someone who is good at making herself look like the victim. There were even some parts of the document that I started to believe her and to see where she was coming from. But that's what Sinder wants. She wants sympathy. But regardless of all of this, there are still people who will support her and be on her side. So I would really like to know your takes on the situation, so please drop a comment below and hit the subscribe button if you have not already. And I will see you next time. Bye!